Okay, so the rough draft title for this impulsively generated video is Thich Nhat Hanh and the Ennoblement of Black Youth. So this is specifically directed to anyone concerned for the sort of long-term safety and life trajectory and well-being of Black American youths, okay? Especially young boys who mature into men. So I was listening to music and I recalled that there's an interview of Thich Nhat Hanh, the sort of great monk, may he rest in peace. And in this interview, he recalls that as a kid, he saw a depiction of a monk in a work of visual art. And after that happened, he felt flooded with like joy and admiration, and he ran home. And he told his parents that he wanted to become that, you know. He said, like, I saw this monk in this, it's like a photo in the window of a store, and I want to become that. And, you know, I guess he partook in some conversations with his parents, and eventually he became a proper Buddhist monk. So, when I was a kid, I was watching, as I said in one of my previous videos, Batman Beyond, which features, I think, the most badass version of Batman of all time. And then I was reading, you know, mythology and simple stories and religious texts and all kinds of little things that would help instill key moral insights and wisdom in a budding mind. And if you do this enough, and you do it in the absence of certain bad influences, you will basically start to plant the seeds for the maturation of a character that does not need external correction from other human beings. Okay? So, I personally did not get meaningfully introduced to, like, gangster rap and gritty dark media until I was well into my teen years, with the exception of maybe Mortal Kombat 3 for the Sega Genesis, which I played as a kid. Um, the story behind that is funny, but you know, my childhood and then, you know, adolescent years did not involve a deep immersion into dark media. It involved ennobling media, and then it involved, you know, sort of the standard hardships of I guess, immigrant Asian American background that I'm not going to get involved in because I don't want to discuss those kinds of traumas. But basically, through my childhood and adolescence, I learned to look up to men who became masculine in order to help others. Okay? So there's such a thing as maybe innate versus acquired masculinity, and innately I don't have a whole lot of it, but I've trained in certain ways that would give me certain kinds of competencies. Maybe a particular set of skills that could be useful in certain situations. And I was thinking, like, I don't know, I have certainly sampled media like, you know, the movie Juice, or the movie Boys in the Hood, or the movie New Jersey Drive, or the movie Imperial Dreams, or all kinds of media about, you know, slavery and just all kinds of media that is, you know, it's specifically intended for a Black American audience. And I was just kind of thinking, this is maybe a almost an insultingly simplistic or stupid question, but it's like, what would the upbringing of, you know, a kid, a black kid or any other kid look like if they were mainly steeped in sort of healing, ennobling, uplifting, beautiful, soul nourishing media for the first, say, 15 to 18 years of their lives, while being given adequate precautionary doses of, say, dark media, you know? What if the primary set of influences was not something that mainly delivered the real, but mainly delivered the ideal? Do you know what I mean? I understand this question comes from like it's like a loose, lazy consideration of an ideal scenario. Okay, I'm not saying this should be some mass scale question that every black person asks, because obviously there are reasons why there are good reasons why you need to introduce certain kinds of dark topics. to a young black boy early in order to keep him safe. But uh, it's possible that this is just a stupidly ill-composed video, but I'm thinking of like the interview I just posted on my channel featuring Dr. Nuna Menra, the sort of vegan natural bodybuilder who is clearly extremely erudite about the science of nutrition as it pertains to autophagy and some other related topics. And I was thinking, like, I don't know how he grew up, but I don't think he was given the name Nuna Menra as a child. Maybe he chose that name for himself after having adopted a certain course of autodidactic study or something. But more importantly, this seems to be someone who is not concerned with marketing himself as a generic character that is mass manufactured for consumption amidst black Americans. So Nuna Menra, this vegan natural bodybuilder who is obviously living a remarkably clean and I would even say ascetic lifestyle, is an example of someone who may have taken a pen and paper or several papers at some point and said, I'm going to map out exactly what kind of character and disciplines and lifestyle and habits and strengths I have, and I'm going to become what I choose to become regardless of what is sold to me since childhood. And then it seems like he just became, sorry to say, but like the character Morpheus from The Matrix. So, except really jacked and shredded. And, you know, obviously, he has his life in order. So, I want to end this, regardless of how stupid the sort of previous content in this video was, I want to end this with a simple consideration, okay? Before you start to consume media for the purpose of being reflective toward it or inspired by it, or taught by it, think of what your life would look like if you regularly took pens and papers and produced a set of private journals that would map out the sort of mind you want, the sort of body you want, the sort of life you want, and you mainly invested in a lifelong regimen of self-crafting, self-editing, self-enhancement, and you did that way more often than you consumed anything that was perhaps designed to shape you into something that would eventually, say, profit the prison labor system. Do you know what I mean? The prison industrial complex. That's something to think about. You deserve to freely shape yourself into whatever you want to be, and you deserve to do it in peaceful silence, away from the noise of social media and the company of people who are driven by base impulses, rather than a constant striving toward the heroic embodiment of something that can be loved by God first and foremost.